do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indie Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indie Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome into the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indie's Sports Ticket. Hopefully you've had a nice start to your week. It is Tuesday, and got a big week ahead. Got a ton of stuff to get to today. Sam Ehlinger is gone. Zach Pereles is going to join the show at 11:20 to talk college hoops. Myles Colvin leaving Purdue. Pacers-Kings last night was fun. And the New York Yankees have these torpedo bats. But we're going to start with Sam Ehlinger. Anthony Richardson's buddy, his friend, leaving. He's signing with the Broncos, 1-year deal. And I think when people see this, it's like a third-string quarterback's leaving. Who cares, right? I actually think this really matters, though. I think it matters so much that I've actually changed my mind on something. I don't know if I've changed my mind, but I'm a little more open to something that I wasn't beforehand, right? I don't like changing my stance. It's not fun, but I'd rather, be willing to be persuaded than just, flat out be wrong. So the Colts moving off of or allowing Sam Ehlinger to leave makes me think that they might actually give Daniel Jones a chance to be the starting quarterback for the Colts in week 1. We see NFL teams cater to their starting quarterbacks all the time. Okay? Like, it is a staple of the NFL. Okay, the most obvious one that I could think of, Aaron Rodgers last year. Devontae Adams says he wants out of Las Vegas. Aaron Rodgers goes to the front office of the Jets and says, hey, I want Devontae Adams. So the Jets went and they got Devontae Adams. They catered to their starting quarterback. Every team in the NFL wants to do whatever they can to make their starting quarterback as comfortable as possible, to put them in a position to succeed. The Texans' offensive line has been terrible the last 2 years. So what are they doing? They're starting over up front so that they can, make C.J. Stroud a little bit more comfortable in the pocket. Drake May had terrible wide receivers last year. So the Patriots are bringing in Stephon Diggs. The Panthers, they're probably going to draft a wide receiver with the 8th pick in the NFL draft, which is, about 3 weeks away. So we have seen teams consistently cater to their starting quarterbacks. And this is how it works in the NFL. And this is what teams should do. And it's really how every sport works. In the NBA, franchises do things to make their stars happy. The NFL, it's the exact same thing. It's why the Bengals forked out all that money to make Jamar Chase the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. That's why they forked out all that money to not only pay Jamar Chase, but to also pay T. Higgins. Why did that happen? Because Joe Burrow went on this media parade and said, I would like for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to be in a Bengals jersey next season. And I'm sure he had multiple conversations with ownership and the front office and the importance of keeping those guys. And all of a sudden, they want to pay Trey Hendrickson. And I'm assuming that it's because Joe Burrow was like, hey, that guy's really good at football, and I would like it if we had good football players on our team. And you say, well, Jonathan, Sam Ehlinger is very different than, keeping Jamar Chase or T. Higgins, or the Panthers using the 8th pick on a wide receiver, or the Jets making a trade for Devontae Adams. Sam Ehlinger's the third-string quarterback. Why does he matter? Sam Ehlinger was Anthony Richardson's guy. At practice, if Anthony Richardson made a mistake last year, he wouldn't go off the field and talk to the quarterback coach or Shane Steichen or 39-year-old Joe Flacco. No, he went and he talked to Sam Ehlinger. Sam Ehlinger was Anthony Richardson's dude. And it's one of those things where if Anthony Richardson was the for sure starter, and if they were very confident that he was going to be their starter week 1, then I think that they would have kept Sam Ehlinger around. He's a third string quarterback. He's not super expensive. He only signed a 1-year deal in Denver. Like the Colts could have signed Sam Ehlinger to a 1-year, $2 million deal. Okay? He wasn't expensive. There's not a super strong commitment. He's a third-string quarterback. No one would have batted an eye. He wasn't a problem in the Colts locker room. There was no reason to get rid of him, especially when he's your 4th overall picks guy, your potential starting quarterback, the guy who you handed the job to the last 2 years. And the Colts are like, you know what? No, we're not going to bring Sam Ehlinger back, which I love. I love that the Colts didn't bring him back. I love that the Colts didn't cater to Anthony Richardson. That's all that they've done for him since he showed up. Hey, you barely played in college. Here's the starting job your rookie season. Oh, you only played 4 games last year. You weren't, super impressive in those games, but hey, it's fine. Here's the starting job again. Okay, they catered to him his first 2 years in the league, and they've stopped. I think it stopped when they benched him for Joe Flacco for a week. This is a good thing. They don't need to cater to Anthony Richardson. He hasn't earned it. He hasn't. He doesn't need to be given anything. He needs to be as uncomfortable as possible. That is clearly the best way to get him to work. Because, it was uncomfortable for him having to talk to the media after he gets benched. Like, that's tough. That is not, it's not an easy thing to deal with. Like, imagine getting demoted and then having like 30 people say, hey, why did you get demoted? Why do you think they went with this other guy over you? Like, that's not fun. That is an uncomfortable experience for everybody. And so this is a good thing, though, because once he got benched, what happened? He started showing up to the facility earlier. He was meeting with the offensive line coach so he could get better at, audibling, the protection up front and doing those things. Once they made him uncomfortable, he began to work harder. This is a good move by the Colts, letting Sam Ehlinger go. So between allowing Sam Ehlinger to walk out the door and announcing that Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones are going to split reps at the start of OTAs, they've sent a clear message to Anthony Richardson that he is in a legitimate quarterback competition. And this is the best thing for him. Most of the time, not all the time, there are exceptions to the rule. People don't get better when things are just handed to them, especially when they're 23 years old. The Colts are doing the right thing. They're making Anthony Richardson uncomfortable, and hopefully that leads to him coming back as an improved quarterback. And then once he proves that he has what it takes to be a franchise quarterback, they can go back to catering to him. Bring Sam Ehlinger back. Okay? Do all those things that you do for legitimate franchise quarterbacks or young quarterbacks that have at least shown that they might be a franchise guy. There it is. That's my take on Sam Ehlinger and why it's important. I'm very intrigued to kind of see where things go from here. Can't wait. Now, the NFL, we're in the middle of this time where they're changing rules and all this kind of stuff. Everyone's like, ban the tush push. I don't know. I don't really care about that. There is a rule, though, that I think people are going to overreact to. Okay? The NFL owners have passed a new rule that both teams will now possess the football in overtime during the regular season. Overtimes are still going to be 10 minutes, so how it's probably going to shake out, both teams will have the football once, and then that'll kind of be it. And I just want to applaud the NFL for doing something that actually makes sense. Don't you just love it when organizations and franchises just do things that are common sense? Okay, they now have a better overtime structure than college football, which wasn't the case for a very, very long time. I really wish college football would go back to just doing everything from the 25-yard line. Forget, who cares if games go to 7 overtimes? That's awesome. I love that. Okay, I wish college football would go back to it. But this is another step in the proper direction for the NFL, making this change. Other rules have been coming out over the past few years. I can't pronounce that name. Finn's one up one on Twitter tweeted at me at __ Jonathan Smith. If you want to follow me there, you can also watch the show there live as well. Said Sam was supposed to be Tom Brady according to Colts fans' draft logic. Yeah, that is really an underrated part of Sam Ehlinger no longer being on the Indianapolis Colts team. I don't have to listen to people, say something like, "Oh, why don't they give Sam Ehlinger a chance? He looked really good throwing all those checkdowns a couple years ago." Yeah, so glad I don't have to listen to that anymore. That guy's a borderline practice squad player. He's going to be the third string quarterback wherever he goes, and that is the extent of it. Anyway, NFL rule changes are happening actively. NFL owners also approved proposals to expand the league's replay assist system, which I like. I am pro anything that gets rid of having to go to the monitor or replay for every single thing. Okay, so glad that is, hopefully going to lessen the amount of that, because these replays should happen quickly. Like they have the video 5 seconds after the play happens. Like they have it. Like have someone else look at it, because the people in New York or whatever, they're in charge of what happens anyway. Just let them look at it immediately. Let them call down, and let's keep the game moving. Okay? That's what I want. I want as few stoppages as possible, and I know that that's probably what you want as well. Speaking of stoppages in college basketball happen all the time. It's really annoying. I don't like it. And speaking of college basketball, Myles Colvin, he is leaving Purdue. And, Purdue fans think this is the end of the world. What are we going to do? We lost Myles Colvin, a guy who didn't really play very well, but he's from Indianapolis, and he's a 4-star guy, so I guess that it's kind of a big deal. Yeah, I don't think it matters. Okay? Like, seriously, if I was a Purdue fan, which I'm not, I don't think I'd be very torn up about this. As someone who's watched just about every single game that they played this year, Myles Colvin was always incredibly underwhelming to me. Okay, and his numbers prove it. He is an above-average athlete. Like, this dude isn't some freak. He can't really shoot. He can't create on his own. He played 18 minutes per game this season. He averaged 5 points per game, 5.4 if I want to be totally accurate, 2.5 rebounds, and 0.7 assists. That seems incredibly replaceable to me. It's not hard to find above average athletic guards in the portal that can't really shoot. He shot 31% from three. That's not very good. Shot 67% from the free throw line. That's terrible. If you're a guard, you should not shoot 67% from the line. You should be around 80%. He shot 37% from the floor overall. That is incredibly replaceable in the transfer portal era. Okay? Seriously. Like he's there's a million other Myles Colvins out there that Purdue can go and get. Okay? Like there's freshmen available that can do everything that Myles Colvin can do. Right? He's incredibly replaceable. He's a decent player, but he's like, come on now. CJ Cox and Ja'Cory Harris are every bit as good as him, and they're both a year younger. Purdue doesn't need Myles Colvin at all, whatsoever. He's probably going to transfer down, wind up at some mid-major next year, and we'll never hear from him again. Okay? And this is a good thing. You don't want players that aren't good enough to play for you on your team. This is, I know we talk a lot about the transfer portal and how terrible it is and but this is one of the nice things. Guys that can't hack it at a certain level can transfer down. Okay? And that's what Myles Colvin's probably going to do. He's probably going to go play at, Indiana State, or, maybe he goes out west and goes to like Utah State or someplace like that. But whenever you watch him, he's barely a Big Ten athlete, and he just isn't consistent enough shooting the basketball to be a Big Ten rotation player like he was this year. Okay, so I think it's good that he's leaving for both Purdue and for him. He's going to be able to go somewhere where he can really contribute, play 33 minutes a night, actually have the ball in his hands and get better. Maybe he's able to transfer back up the year after. We'll see. Once again, this is a good thing. It gives Myles Colvin a chance to go somewhere else and play and improve. And it also gives Coach Painter another roster spot to add an impact player to this team. Because, even though Myles Colvin had some cool dunks and he had one good performance against Ole Miss, he wasn't an impactful player on a consistent basis. And now Purdue is going to have a chance to go into the portal and add a guard who can really make a difference, whether that's coming off the bench or starting alongside Braden Smith. And Purdue's already dipped their toe in the portal. They signed a big man from South Dakota State. I'm going to tell you who that is, why it matters, what I'm intrigued about this guy when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
The best takes, stories, and entertainment. It's The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket. 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
Welcome back to The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you would head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on Twitter, __ Jonathan Smith. You can also listen via the Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you get your apps. Also, if you want more from me, you can check out my other YouTube page. My take is, so Myles Colvin is leaving Purdue. Not a big deal. Dude is very replaceable. But one of the big things that Purdue needed in the transfer portal was size, and they've already got that. Oscar Clough committed to Purdue yesterday. He's a 6'11" center from South Dakota State. Averaged 17.5 points and 12 rebounds per game last year. Very intrigued to kind of see how he fits. It feels like Purdue has three of the same guy. Daniel Jacobson, back to the basket. I'm going to post you up and score underneath. Trey Coffin-Wren, back to the basket. I'm going to post you up and score underneath. Oscar Clough, back to the basket. I'm going to post you up and try to score underneath. So very intrigued to kind of see how all of that fits together. He averages less than 1 block per game, so hopefully Purdue can find a rim protector somewhere in the portal. They've got plenty of time to do it and plenty of roster spots. So, but either way, he's a good player, and I'm always pro adding good players, especially when it fits a need. Okay, Purdue needed size and depth in the front court, and now they've got it by bringing in grad transfer Oscar Clough from South Dakota State. We have another rule change in the NFL. Adam Schefter reporting that touchbacks will now move the ball to the 35-yard line. So last year, if you kicked the ball on a kickoff through the back of the end zone or whatever, then the ball got placed at the 30. Now they're going to move it to the 35, which means we should see an increase and even more kickoff returns. This is a great thing. I know that people don't like how it looks, because I'll be honest, like, it looks a little funky. The kicker's all by himself. And then, you got the rows of players all lined up 10 yards across from each other. And then you have your two returners. I like it just because I like seeing kickoff returns happen. It is one of the most exciting plays in football at any level. Like, there's nothing cooler than seeing a guy catch the football and then run it 98 yards to the house. It's fun. It's entertaining. And bringing that element back, one of my favorite football players growing up was Devin Hester. And it wasn't because he was some great wide receiver. No, it's because you knew that when he caught the ball and he was going to return it, whether it was a punt or a kickoff, you knew there was this threat that he could return it to the house. And it's fun. Like, it gets you on the edge of your seat. So from here on out, kickoffs will no longer be used as bathroom break time. At least for me, it won't be. It might be different for you. But I do think that this is a good rule change. I want as much action as possible, because previously when a team would kick a field goal or score a touchdown, right, between the time to run the field goal unit on the field, kick the, extra point that's going to go in, 98% of the time, run a commercial, come back from commercial, kick the football off, watch it go through the back of the end zone, and then reset the offense. It's like 7 minutes. It took forever for you to get from action to action again. Now, teams are going to score. You got the extra point, commercial, kickoff, we're back. And I know that the ball is probably going to be returned because teams aren't going to kick the ball through the back of the end zone because they don't want to have their team or their opposition start from the 35. This is a good rule change because it's going to bring more action, and I cannot wait for the NFL season to start. I'm ready. We are a little more than 3 weeks away from the NFL draft. Colts probably going to take, Jahad Campbell with the 14th overall pick, linebacker out of Alabama, with them letting EJ Speed leave. That's kind of what I am expecting from here on out. Now, yes, the NFL draft is 3 weeks away, but the NBA playoffs are like 2 weeks away. And your Indiana Pacers kind of rolling right now. They won again last night, played the Kings at home, which is, very, very important because they need to beat teams like the Kings, and they did. It wasn't pretty. It was not pretty in the slightest. They win 111-109. I was sitting at home, and I was trying not to get frustrated because for 3 quarters, Tyrese Halliburton was like, you know what I'm not going to do? I'm just not going to try to score. And, the assist numbers were good, but it was just frustrating. Okay, it was so underwhelming. Like you're coming into this game, and you just I just kind of expected for the Pacers to just kind of put it on the Kings because the Kings aren't very good. They're a bad team, and they're reeling. They're like 3-10 now in their last 13 games, and they only beat this bad reeling Kings team by 2 at home. And it just didn't inspire a ton of confidence in this Pacers team. And I'm probably complaining too much, but they just kind of hung around. Tyrese Halliburton turned it on late, which was really impressive and fun to see. And the Pacers won, so maybe I should stop complaining. But if it wasn't for Obi Toppin, who's been so good in the month of March, just coming in off the bench, hitting a bunch of threes, running the floor, jumping over dudes, rebounding the basketball, playing good defense. He's been a joy to watch play basketball for the Pacers in the month of March. And then Jarris Walker. I don't know what to do with this guy. The intangibles are there. The dude's clearly very athletic. He's 6'7", 6'8". He has incredibly long arms. He's, clearly athletic. The jump shot is getting better. He scored 15. If Jarris Walker doesn't score 15, and if Obi Toppin doesn't score 19, both off the bench, that's 34 points off your bench between just those two guys. That's not counting what TJ McConnell and these other guys did. But if Obi Toppin and Jarris Walker don't do that, they don't win this game. And every game matters right now because they only have a 2-game lead over the Detroit Pistons for the 4th seed. Okay, so because of Toppin and Walker, they had a chance to win it late. Tyrese Halliburton just didn't look to score enough early. This is still my biggest pet peeve with him. He just doesn't look for a shot in the first 3 quarters last night. He had 7 points through 3 quarters. Playoff teams that actually win in the playoffs, win 4 of 7 games, their best player doesn't disappear scoring-wise for a 3-quarter stretch. It doesn't happen. It doesn't. Now, to be fair, he still had an impact on the game. He had 10 assists through 3 quarters. That's impressive. And once again, I'm probably complaining way too much, but he's too good of a scorer to only score 7 points in 3 quarters. He's too talented to do that. And he wasn't really looking for a shot. And I just remember I'm sitting there and I've got the notepad and I'm just like, where is Tyrese Halliburton? And all these question marks. And fourth quarter shows up. And Tyrese Halliburton is finally like, you know what the Kings have been doing? They've been switching every ball screen. And Domantas Sabonis can't stay in front of me. Maybe I should just go by him. And he did. That's what he started doing. He was like, oh, Domantas Sabonis. I'm about to cook here. And then he went and scored. And the Pacers needed every bit of it. He scores 11 points on 4 of 5 shooting, including hitting the big go-ahead 3 late that had just eluded the Pacers repeatedly throughout that game. The number of times, I have the number. 5 times, the Pacers were down by 1. 5 of those shots were threes. So they're down by 1. It's like, let's take a 3. Let's just ignore the fact that we're on a fast break. It's a 2-on-1. We can probably get a layup here and take the lead. Let me spread it out to the wing and chuck up another 3. And I get it. You want to take threes, but I don't know. I just kind of want to take the lead, but hey, whatever. And then eventually Pacers are down 1, 99-98. And Halliburton, finally hits a 3 to put the Pacers in the lead. They didn't surrender it after that. he and Pascal Siakam, that screen and roll late is just, it's a really tough thing to stop because both guys are good passers. Both guys can put it on the deck. They can both shoot it. Siakam, having his best season career-wise from three. And because of that, he can not only roll, but he can pop. And if they switch, then he can post, and Halliburton can go by the big. So it's a very problematic thing to stop. And I hope that in the playoffs, we see them run that more and more because those are your two best players. And late in games, I would want for my two best players to be involved in literally every single action. The small ball lineup with Obi Toppin and Jarris Walker was played again last night. This is something that we've seen the Pacers do more and more of. And I like it. I don't think that they'll play it a ton. They usually only play it when Myles Turner is out. They will do it when he is playing, but it's not a ton because Myles Turner's a decent player, or he's a good player. Like, you don't have to hide him on defense or anything like that. But teams like to go small. Like that is a normal thing. Okay, and it should be, right. The NBA's up and down and 3-point shooting and all those things. And so while I don't think we're going to all of a sudden start seeing 30 minutes a night of small ball from the Pacers, it is nice to know that they have this option and that it's effective. So last night, the Pacers are down at 76-60, and then they go small. Obi Toppin and Jarris Walker check into the game. They closed the last 6.5 minutes of that quarter on a 21-10 run. This is the end of the third quarter, and then they go into the fourth quarter only down by 5. Okay? This is important because it allows you to do multiple things in the playoffs lineup-wise. Okay, Myles Turner is going to play a lot of minutes. I don't think that that's going to change because he's a valuable player to the Indiana Pacers. But it is nice to know that if you need to go small, you can do that with Jarris Walker and Obi Toppin. Now, there's one player who I think I really like, and I hate what I'm about to say, but Ben Sheppard needs to play less. No way around it. Ben Sheppard needs to play less. He's playing about 20 minutes a game. He's only shooting 34% from three. He's a good player. He's got a good-looking shot. The dude competes his butt off on the defensive end. He rebounds. He does everything that he can. And it's fun. And he plays hard. And he brings energy. Very important things. But when you've got Jarris Walker, who's probably a better rebounder, who is shooting 38% from three on the season, which is, 39% from three on the season with 2.5 attempts per game. Like, Jarris Walker shooting it better. He gives you more athleticism. I think he's a better defender because he's more athletic. He's a guy who will randomly have games where he grabs like 9 rebounds. That guy should be playing more than Ben Sheppard, who's playing, 20 minutes a game. Jarris Walker, who's logged legitimate DNPs, and when he does play in games, only plays about 15 minutes. Okay, that guy needs to play more, Jarris Walker, and we need a little less Ben Sheppard, even though I love Ben Sheppard, and I hate myself for even suggesting that, but that's just where I'm at with the Pacers and this lineup and the way that they're rotating these guys in and out. We're only a couple weeks away from the playoffs. Pacers currently have a 2-game lead over the Pistons for the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference, and I can't wait whether the Pacers wind up playing the Bucks or the Pistons in the first round. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I really can't wait. Coming up at 11:20, Zach Pereles of CBS Sports is going to join me. We're going to talk Elite Eight and Final Four. When we come back, though, the New York Yankees, they have these torpedo bats, and they're hitting all these home runs. They've hit 15, just jacking the ball out of the yard, and people are complaining about it. Is it unfair? Yeah, that's what people are asking. I got to be honest. I don't care about fair. I don't care about unfair. I care about fun. and entertaining. And that's what these torpedo bats have made Major League Baseball. More on that when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
Unadulterated sports talk with unfiltered takes. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Hopefully you've had a nice start to your week. I know I have played pickup yesterday for the first time in like a month. Sore today. It's not good. Anyway, Zach Pereles coming on at 11:20. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, you can also follow me on Twitter, __ Jonathan Smith. You can also hear me chime in from time to time on the Dan Dockett Show from noon to 3 every day, Monday through Friday. And if that's not enough Jonathan Smith for you, wait, let me not be Mike Woodson. If that's not enough of me for you, I've got an extra YouTube channel as well called My Take Is, where you can go and listen to me there as well. The New York Yankees have these torpedo bats, and they're a big topic. I know for me, I like them. I can't wait to see a torpedo bat take on a submarine pitcher. I think that's going to be just an explosive matchup. I think that'd be a lot of fun to watch. Anyway, the Yankees have created these torpedo bats, and people are very upset about it. The Yankees, it's an unfair advantage. False. You're just upset because your favorite team didn't come up with this. Okay? Why would we punish the Yankees for being innovative and figuring out a way to improve the bat so that they can be better? They figured out a way to make the bat better. Every other Major League Baseball team could have taken the time, could have taken the money, could have taken the energy to figure out a way to do this. That's the other 29 Major League Baseball teams' fault, not the New York Yankees. I hate the Yankees. I do. And I think part of why people don't like this is because they're the Yankees. If the Tampa Bay Rays had done this, the narrative would not be the torpedo bats are unfair. The narrative would be, the Tampa Bay Rays. They're just so innovative, and they're always figuring out different ways to get better, and that's what we would say. But because it's the Yankees, it's this unfair thing. Also, it's not unfair. You know what you still have to do with a torpedo bat? Square the ball up, which is incredibly difficult. Also, every other team can do the exact same thing. If you head over to YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, we have a YouTube chat. Ridger chiming in with a great fact that I didn't know that I greatly appreciate. Ellie De La Cruz of the Reds hit 2 home runs yesterday with a torpedo bat that he flew in just a few hours before the game. Every other team is allowed to do this, and you should be allowed to do it. Okay? Every other team can fly these bats in. They can pay for their players to have the torpedo bats. Like, that is an option. It's not like this is only an exclusive Yankees thing. Okay? So every team can use it. It's not an unfair advantage. You still have to be good at baseball to reap the benefits of this bat. Here's another reason why it shouldn't be banned. It makes the game more fun. It makes the game more enjoyable. And baseball should be fun. Like, I should enjoy sitting down and watching baseball games. And these bats make the game more fun. What was the single best era of baseball? The steroid era. It's the best one by far. Everyone's hitting the ball out of the yard. You have the home run race between McGuire and Sosa, and Barry Bonds gets upset that he's, tearing it up. And, those guys are getting all the attention. So what does he do? He, needles up. And all of a sudden, he hits all the home runs that he hits. And it was fun. It was such an enjoyable time to watch baseball. And why? Because everyone was hitting the ball out of the yard. And you had dudes like Roger Clemens coming back, throwing 90, 97. Okay? The hitters were hitting the ball out of the ballpark, and the pitchers were absolutely slinging it. That's the reality of it. And that's what we have right now. Every pitcher is slinging the baseball. Okay? Everyone throws 100. And if these torpedo bats bring more juice to the plate, then they should stick around. Evolution happens in sports all the time. We think that runners run faster than ever because people are faster now. That's not true. Runners are faster than ever now because the shoes that they run in are better than what they used to be. And the tracks that they run on are better than running on grass or concrete like they used to. And it's really funny. These shoe companies created shoes for people to run faster in. And you know what they didn't do? They didn't ban them from the Olympics. They just allowed everyone to use them. And the sport became better because of it. It was a lot of fun watching Noah Lyles run 100 meters in 9.79 seconds and earn the gold medal. That is way more enjoyable than watching, or way cooler, probably not enjoyable, but like that's so much cooler than seeing him run it in, gear that's not as good in 10.35 seconds. That's a very specific number because in 1980, a man from the Soviet Union, whose name I forgot, won the Olympic gold medal in the 100-meter dash, and he ran it in 10.35 seconds. People haven't become faster. The technology that they're using is just better. And we're seeing the exact same thing with these torpedo bats. The technology got better, and it's helping batters get more hits. It's helping them hit more home runs, and that's a good thing. Baseball has become so pitching dominant. Seriously, like the league average keeps dropping, and we think it's because guys are trying to hit home runs. No, it's because every pitcher throws 98 to 102, and they throw a 92-mile-an-hour slider with 18 inches of break. That's why the batting average has gone down. Okay? It's because pitching is just stupid good. And if these torpedo bats can restore some balance, then keep them. Also, the Yankees, as of last night when I checked this, the numbers may have changed. The Yankees lead Major League Baseball in home runs with 15. 15 home runs. By the way, have you seen their lineup? Like, have you seen the guys that they have in that thing? Have you seen the ballpark that they play in? They should absolutely lead Major League Baseball in home runs. Also, they only have 3 more home runs than the next closest team, the Dodgers. Okay, it's not like they've hit, 20 home runs and the Dodgers have hit 12. No, it's 15 to 12. Okay, not that big of a difference. Keep the torpedo bats. It makes the game more interesting. It does. Okay, and I love it. Seriously, it makes me want to watch baseball if I think that more guys are going to hit the ball out of the yard. Okay? It's fantastic. You know what else is fantastic? The NBA. Already talked about the Pacers. I very quickly want to do this thing that I'm going to start doing from now on called Around the Association. There were, 7 or 8 games last night. Here's one sentence on every single game. Jazz versus Hornets. It was a tank-off, and the Jazz tanked better. Both of those teams are terrible. LaMelo Ball's out for the rest of the year. The Jazz's best player is Lauri Markkanen, who's fine at best. Miles Bridges just decided to post, a near triple-double last night, like 26, 10, and 8. That's why the Hornets won, okay, because Miles Bridges isn't very good at tanking. Clippers versus Magic. Clippers are real. It's a really good basketball team. Now, when I say they're real, I don't mean that they can win the whole thing. I don't even think that they're going to make that they can make the Western Conference Finals. But that's a team that is more than good enough to win a playoff series. Okay? Clippers, Magic. The Clippers are real. Also, Magic, tough team, man. That team plays really good defense. Thankfully, the Pacers do not have to play them because the Magic, their size, and their defense is going to pose problems for everyone that they play against. Celtics versus Grizzlies, one of the 2 nationally televised games last night. Al Horford turns back the clock again. Al Horford led the Celtics in scoring last night. He scored 26 points on 50% shooting from the field. Incredible. Like, the dude's 38, and just the evolution of his game. He comes in the league. He's the number 1 overall pick. He's back to the basket, hook shots, fadeaways. Now he's like, I'm going to spot up and just knock down 1,000,000 threes every night, and I'm going to continue to be a pretty decent defensive anchor when I need to be. That is who Al Horford is now. The dude is a Hall of Famer as far as I'm concerned. He lit the Grizzlies up last night. Once again, 26 points on 50% shooting from the field. Also, the Celtics have won 9 games in a row. Everyone loving up on the Thunder and the Cavaliers. Cavaliers 5-5 in their last 10. The Thunder, they just continue to crush everybody. But don't forget about the Boston Celtics. They are more than good enough to win the whole thing. If you wanted to tell me that they were the best team in the league, I would disagree with you, but I would get it. I would. Bulls versus Thunder. Speaking of the best team in the league, the Thunder killed the Bulls. Seriously, like they're going to have stake in Oklahoma City for quite some time. Just with the way that game went. They hosted the Bulls. They won 145-117. It would have been worse, but the Thunder called off the Dogs in the fourth quarter. The Bulls, scored 43 points in the fourth because the Thunder decided to call off the Dogs. No one for the Bulls scored 20 points. That's problematic. And then you look at the Thunder, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scores 27. Also had 12 assists. Very, very impressive game from him. Jalen Williams scores 23. Isaiah Joe off the bench scores 31. Just the depth of the Thunder is pretty incredible. Okay, and they are the best team in the NBA. If you want to know who to put your money on to win the whole thing, the answer is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay, with Chet Holmgren back, they've just kind of gone to a whole another level. 2 more games from last night. Nets, Mavericks. Didn't watch. Can't. I can't. All right. For those unfamiliar, I am a Dallas Mavericks fan in my heart of hearts. Grew up that way. Dirk Nowitzki's probably always going to be my favorite player ever, and I just can't bring myself to watch the Dallas Mavericks, especially when Anthony Davis played 28 minutes and only scored 12 points. Yeah, traded that guy for Luka, or traded Luka for that guy. It still bothers me. It's probably going to bother me for the rest of my life. Anyway, last game of the night last night, Rockets Lakers. That was elite efforts against elite stardom, and elite stardom won out. The Rockets play harder than any other team in the NBA. They are incredibly young. Ime Udoka, the head coach, demands effort from his teams. He does. It's part of why he's one of my favorite coaches in the NBA. I know he's probably not. He's not a good person, but dude can coach some basketball, okay? And the effort that his team plays with every night gives them a chance to win every single night. It's why they are currently holding on to the 2 seed in the Western Conference without an elite offensive player. And if they had one, they would be more than good enough to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. But when Fred VanVleet is your best offensive option late in games, you're not going to beat the better teams that have legitimate stars like Luka Doncic and LeBron James. They both made winning plays down the stretch. They both just get their teams into winning stuff or into scoring position so many times, and late in games, their ability to just kind of, both of them, LeBron and Luka, their ability to just control offenses and move defenses however they want to, gives them the ability to win a lot of these games. So there is your around the association. I did a big thing on the Pacers earlier. I'll probably do it again at some point. And it's good. Pacers still holding on to that 4th seed, and currently a 2-game lead over the Pistons to hopefully secure home court advantage in the first round. Coming up here in about 25 minutes, Zach Pereles of CBS Sports is set to join the show. We're going to talk about the Elite Eight and the upcoming Final Four. Those games are on Saturday. But when we come back at 11 o'clock, Sam Ehlinger, no longer with the Colts. It doesn't sound like it's a very big deal, but I promise you it is. It tells you something very important that you need to know about the Colts. I'm going to tell you what that is when we come back at 11 o'clock.
do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome into the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Hopefully you are having a nice week. It's only Tuesday, I know. It's early, but good things can happen early in the week. I'm rolling. I'm having a good week so far. It is April Fool's Day. Don't forget about that. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching on Twitter, __ Jonathan Smith, if you want to follow me there. You can also listen via that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. You can hear me from noon to 3 with Dan Dockich, Monday through Friday right here as well. And if that's not enough for you, you can also check me out on my other YouTube page. My take is Sam Ehlinger gone. And I think it's a big deal. It's such a big deal that I have now become open. And I don't like this. I don't like changing my mind at all. It bothers me. But I have a little bit here. It has made me open to the idea that this might actually be an open quarterback competition between Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. I think the Colts allowing Sam Ehlinger to leave indicates that. They might actually give Daniel Jones a legitimate chance to be the starting quarterback for the Colts in week 1. He said, Jonathan, why does the Colts allowing Sam Ehlinger to leave point to that? The answer is because teams cater to their quarterbacks all the time. All the time. The most obvious one that I can think of is Aaron Rodgers last year. Aaron Rodgers hanging out at his house, gets a nice little Adam Schefter notification on his phone. He checks it. Oh, Devontae Adams wants out of Las Vegas. Here, let me call Joe Douglas. He's going to get fired anyway. He's going to do it. He goes, hey, Joe, how about we go get Devontae Adams? That's my guy. And Joe Douglas is like, yeah, I'm going to get fired at the end of the year anyway. So, boom, Devontae Adams. There you go, Aaron Rodgers. This is the goal of every franchise in the NFL. They want to make their quarterback as comfortable as possible. And they'll fire head coaches. Trevor Lawrence is about to be on his 3rd head coach. All because the Jacksonville Jaguars wanted to work with Trevor Lawrence, and they want to make him comfortable. The Texans' offensive line, terrible last year. So guess what they did? Traded everyone, and they're starting fresh because they want C.J. Stroud as comfortable as possible. Drake May, rookie quarterback up there in New England. Bad receivers last year. So what'd they do? The Patriots brought in Stephon Diggs. The Panthers probably going to draft either an offensive lineman or a wide receiver with the 8th overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft, which is three weeks away. Three weeks from Thursday. NFL teams all across the league for a very long time have made moves to help their quarterback, whether that's be more comfortable or give them a weapon, whatever it is. This is how the NFL works. It's really how every sport works. The head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies just got fired because John Morant was like, I don't like this guy anymore. I don't care that the playoffs start in 2 weeks. I don't like him. Get him out of here. And the Memphis Grizzlies were like, absolutely, Ja. We will do that for you. Okay, NBA franchises do things all the time to make their stars happy. The NFL, it's the exact same thing, but with quarterbacks. That's why the Bengals forked out a whole lot of money to make Jamar Chase the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL. It's why they paid T. Higgins a whole bunch of money to stay. Those are Joe Burrow's guys. Joe Burrow made it clear that he wanted them to stay, went on a media tour, probably talked to the front office about it a lot. And so eventually, because that's what Joe Burrow wanted, those guys got paid. I'm assuming he also wants Trey Hendrickson to get paid, and all of a sudden the Bengals are like, absolutely, we will pay 31-year-old Trey Hendrickson a whole lot of money because, Joe, you want us to do that. You said, Jonathan, what does that have to do with Sam Ehlinger? Every example you've given is like receivers and things of that nature. Sam Ehlinger was Anthony Richardson's guy. He didn't cost anything. If Anthony Richardson was going to be the starter, and this whole we're going to have a quarterback competition thing was just a mirage. If he was the legitimate starter, then the Colts would have kept Sam Ehlinger around. He only signed a one-year deal with the Denver Broncos. He's a third-string quarterback. He wasn't that expensive. He wasn't a problem in the Indianapolis Colts locker room. You got exactly from him what you want from a third-string quarterback. Absolutely nothing. The only time I heard Sam Ehlinger's name muttered was when some idiotic Colts fan was like, you know who we should give snaps to? Sam Ehlinger. He looked pretty good throwing all those checkdowns the year that we had Matt Ryan. No, that's the only time I ever heard about Sam Ehlinger. Okay, and that's exactly what you want from your third-string quarterback. He wasn't a problem. He was cheap. There was no reason to get rid of him, especially when he is your fourth overall picks guy. Because that's what he was. Anthony Richardson had, a rough play, didn't read the defense properly last year at, OTAs and training camp. He didn't go talk to 39-year-old Joe Flacco. He went and he discussed it with Sam Ehlinger. It's his guy. And the Colts are like, nah, see ya, buddy. And I love that the Colts did this. They don't need to cater to Anthony Richardson. He hasn't earned it. All of those quarterbacks that I just listed that these NFL franchises have done things for have earned it. Like you should do what Joe Burrow asks you to do. Aaron Rodgers, as crazy as he drives me, you should do what that guy says. Okay? You should. Anthony Richardson hasn't earned that. He doesn't need to be given anything. In fact, Anthony Richardson needs to be as uncomfortable as possible. That's clearly the best way to get him to work. Just look at what happened last year. He gets benched. That's a very uncomfortable thing. It is. Like, that is not fun. Like, could you imagine at your job, your boss walks in and goes, hey, we're going to demote you. And then the next day, or no, not even the next day, a few hours later, you're at your cubicle and there's like 30 reporters with sticking their phones and microphones in your face saying, hey, why do you think you got demoted? That is an uncomfortable experience. It's not fun. And that inspired Anthony Richardson to start showing up early, to meet with the offensive line coach, to learn more about protections and how to change them and how to counter different blitz packages and all that kind of stuff. It was good. Anthony Richardson came back better. He had that great game against the Jets. I know that the Jets were terrible, but still, that doesn't happen if the Colts don't make him uncomfortable. Okay, once again, that is clearly the best way to get Anthony Richardson to come in early and do extra work and figure out how to be a franchise quarterback. So between this, letting Sam Ehlinger go, letting Anthony Richardson's guy go, and announcing that he and Daniel Jones are going to split reps at the start of OTAs, they've sent a clear message to Anthony Richardson and to the fan base that this is a legitimate quarterback competition. And this is the best thing for Anthony Richardson. Most of the time, there are exceptions to the rule, but most of the time, people don't get better when things are just handed to them, no matter what their age is, but especially when they're only 23 years old. The Colts are doing the right thing. Can't believe that those words just came out of my mouth in that order, but the Colts are doing the right thing. They're making Anthony Richardson uncomfortable. And hopefully, that leads him to coming back as an improved quarterback. Okay, I can't wait to kind of see what they look like and how training camp goes. And hopefully, Anthony Richardson comes back and, we get to hear all the propaganda stuff. It'll be good. It'll be fun. I can't wait. I think it's going to be a blast. I can't wait to see all these reporters like, oh, Anthony Richardson, so much better. It's going to be great. Speaking of the NFL draft, a little more than 3 weeks away. We'll probably start ramping up some of the NFL draft takes in the coming days. But the NFL owners, they're all meeting right now. They're going over rules and things of that nature. So First and foremost, the tush push has not been banned. They're going to table it and they're going to talk about it later. I got to be honest. I don't think it should be banned. I don't. Like, every team in the NFL has the option to run the quarterback sneak. You're just upset because the Eagles do it better than you do, okay? So go get a quarterback who squats so much weight that every time you play a nationally televised game that the people calling the game are contractually obligated to talk about how much weight they squat, okay? That's what you should do if you don't like the tush push. Here are the big adjustments, though, to the rules that I think you are going to care about. The NFL owners have approved proposals to expand the league's replay assist system. There's no details on what that means, but I am very much in favor of this. I want as few stoppages as possible. The people in New York, they're making the choices on everything that's going on anyway, so just let them do it. Like, they're getting the replays. Like, as soon as the play's over, if anything happens, like, let them help in a quickly and timely fashion. I want as few stoppages as possible, just like you. Another big change is the overtime rules. NFL owners have now passed a rule that both teams will be allowed to possess the football in overtime and in the regular season. The college football product is an amazing thing. I love college football. It is in my blood. I grew up in the South. It really matters to me. It does. With that being said, the overtime rules in the NFL are now better than the overtime rules in college football. The college football overtime rules used to be amazing. Ball at the 25. We go until someone wins. It's fun. Now it's like 2-point conversions, and it's not fun. The NFL owners have changed the rule. Both teams in the regular season will now have an opportunity to possess the football in overtime. I don't like that overtime's only 10 minutes. It feels like one team is going to get a possession, and then the other team is going to get a possession, and then that's it. But maybe this leads to, you give up a touchdown, the other team gets the football, they move it all the way down the field, they score with like 40 seconds left, playoff spots, playoff seedings on the line, and we see like a 2-point conversion late in the season to try to win the game. That would be awesome. That would be so much fun. Okay? Way better than what college football does now and what the old NFL overtime rules used to be. Last rule change that I do find significant and I am interested in, and I'm actually very excited by. From now on, whenever there's a touchback on kickoffs, the ball will be moved to the 35. Awesome. Love this. I want more kickoff returns. I want as many of them as possible. One of my favorite NFL football players growing up was Devin Hester. Because every time he stood back there, whether it was to return a punt or a kickoff, there was excitement. Like, it came through the TV screen. Like, you could feel it. Because everyone knew that whenever Devin Hester touched the football, he could take it to the house. Think back to when the Colts played him in the Super Bowl. He had a kickoff return for a touchdown. Okay? And if you weren't a Colts fan, you thought that was awesome. Because it is. Kickoff returns for touchdowns are fun. They just are. And by changing the rule, because last year, if you kicked the ball through the back of the end zone or if there was a touchback, the ball got placed at the 30. Now, at the 35, I don't think teams are going to want to give that up. Because what Sean Payton said last year was right. Teams are just going to look at the numbers. All right, so whenever we kick it and they return it, they usually start at like the 28. But when we kick it through the back of the end zone, they usually start at the 35. Okay, we're going to make sure that they return the football. Now, maybe there's, a player or two in the NFL who become very dangerous on kickoff returns. All of a sudden, like, there's this strategy of, do we give this guy a chance to beat us, or do we just, let them start at the 35? Like, now these choices have to be made, whereas in the past, it's like, okay, we're just going to kick it off through the back of the end zone, and that's going to be it, and which isn't fun. Like, it's not entertaining, because when you break down, like, how long it used to take. So let's say Colts score a touchdown. By the time that it takes for them to kick the PAT, which, usually goes in 98% of the time. By the time it takes for them to take the PAT, go to commercial, come back, have the kickoff, kick it through the back of the end zone, and then run the offense back out onto the field, that's like a 7-minute thing. That is 7 minutes of absolutely nothing of any sort of significance happening. Now, and the NFL is projecting that we're going to have somewhere between 60 and 70% of kickoffs returned in 2025, which is a good thing. Now, you're going to have a Colts touchdown followed by a PAT that you don't really care about and I don't really care about, followed by like 3 minutes of, commercials. And then we're right back to the action with the kickoff because someone's actually going to return it. It gives us more action. It gives me more plays for us to watch. It's great. I'm excited by it, and I hope that you are as well. When we come back here in about 4 minutes or so, Zach Pereles of CBS Sports, he's been doing a bunch of writing on, the Elite Eight and the Final Four. He's a very good writer. You can read all this stuff over at cbssports.com. He's set to join me when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
If it's in today's sports world, it's here. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you are tuning in. Joined now by the one and only Zach Pereles of CBS Sports. He writes a fantastic newsletter, also covers the NFL and college basketball and just everything under the sun. Zach, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing really well. College basketball's going on. We have the NBA playoffs are like 2 weeks away. All the NFL rule changes are getting me excited about the NFL. So I'm doing pretty dandy.
Good. Yeah, no, it's April is such a good sports month. Like I'm so excited for what's to come.
Are there any what's the worst sports month? Because I think you can find the good ones pretty easily, but what's the worst one?
Oh, geez, like maybe July? I just feel like that's the least busy one. Like baseball's going on, but it really is the dog days, and we're still not quite into football yet. I mean, teams report for training camp right at the end of the month, but I think July is just the least busy, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what I think. That's usually when I go on vacation. So I'm going to say that month.
Yeah, best vacation month for sure.
Without a doubt. But this is the best basketball month because we get, the Elite Eight and then, the Final Four and then the playoffs start for the NBA pretty shortly after. Which of the Elite Eight games did you enjoy watching the most?
Oh, man, Florida, just like, I think that's the best of March Madness when you think about how they came back against Texas Tech. That's Texas Tech, I feel like somehow was underappreciated despite finishing second in the Big 12, like really excellent team. And you saw it all tournament long, really up until those last couple of minutes. I love Walter Clayton Jr. and what he did at the end of that game was just terrific. I think that's the best that we got. Obviously, the Janai Broom moment coming back and hitting a three against Michigan State was a big one. But Florida, with that comeback, they really looked like they had kind of run out of steam and all the issues, and Texas Tech shooting it well. But that's what happens when you have one really good player who can propel you. I just love Walter Clayton Jr.'s game. So that was my favorite Elite Eight game.
Would you agree that Cooper Flagg's the best player in the Final Four, but Walter Clayton Jr. is the most exciting?
Ooh, great question. I do think that Cooper Flagg is the best player in the Final Four. Yeah, I mean, for the dramatics, I think so far Walter Clayton Jr. has been the most exciting, and I think that's a pretty fair summary right there.
Sweet. Joined by Zach Pereles of CBS Sports talking about the Elite Eight. I have a concern about Florida, and maybe I'm just looking into things too much. But against UConn, they needed for Walter Clayton Jr. to hit two really tough threes, and they needed UConn to miss a million open threes in order to win that game late. And then we have this game against, Texas Tech where Walter Clayton Jr. scored or assisted on 19 of Florida's 23 points. He was responsible for every field goal in the last 5.5 minutes of that game because the 4 points he didn't score or assist were all free throws. Are they I just don't feel like they're playing their best basketball right now. And I don't think that you can ask Walter Clayton Jr. to put the cape on for potentially a third or fourth time in these last two games against, the other three best teams in college hoops. Is that a fair concern / criticism about Florida throughout the tournament so far?
Yeah, I think that's a fair criticism that a lot has been on Walter Clayton Jr.'s shoulders. I will say, I think that they had maybe it's close, but I think they might have had the toughest, finishing stretch here, the toughest path, I guess. Like Maryland and Texas Tech are top 10 teams in the country, and they crushed Maryland. And yeah, they needed to come back against Texas Tech on Walter Clayton Jr.'s shoulders. But, those are two top 10 teams nationally. Like, those are games that if you lose, you're only surprised because of the seeding. But, like, those are very good teams. Like, in an alternate reality, Maryland's probably close to an Elite Eight team or, maybe even a Final Four team. And Texas Tech is a couple possessions from being a Final Four team. I do think, like, there have been some issues where they haven't been playing their best, and it's been kind of uncharacteristic. Like, the turnovers have been way up, which has definitely been an issue. And that's something where they cannot have that continue to happen against Auburn. So am I worried? I don't know if I'm worried. Like, you knew that Connecticut was going to give them a test because they're Connecticut and they're so well coached. And then you knew Maryland was going to give them a test, and Florida flew by it with flying colors. So really the one that concerned me was UConn. But again, in the tournament, you kind of throw out all the records and stuff because everyone's there and everyone has a chance. So I'm not super concerned when you look at it through that lens. And I do think, like, at the end of the day, it's a lot on Walter Clayton Jr.'s shoulders, but that's why they have them, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, he's a first team All American for a reason. He can clearly handle it. We've seen him do it twice now. Joined by Zach Pereles of CBS Sports. Were you surprised at how badly Duke beat Alabama?
I was not. And I think that Alabama kind of showed what we saw all year, is that when they are making threes, obviously they are just a tough math problem to solve. But this was not the best Alabama team that we've seen in the last few years. They really didn't have kind of that, fully rounded out offense, I didn't think. And I didn't think that they were quite as good defensively this year. I think they fell off pretty severely, in fact. And Duke is like, I am wishing that I had taken Duke because they are just so outstanding on both ends. Like, they have the length, they have the athleticism, and their offense is just a machine. Like, Alabama's, you think about an offensive machine because they make a bunch of threes and get a bunch of dunks. Duke does everything. Like, they are just outstanding on both ends. And yeah, I just think, like, Alabama was always going to have trouble defensively, and then they were always going to have to be near perfect offensively, and Duke was not the BYU defense. So I wasn't too surprised there.
I know they actually went over ball screens. Who would have thought? Just
unreal. Someone did some scouting.
That's exactly right. Joined by Zach Pereles talking about the Elite Eight. And I'm glad that I picked Duke. I think of the four teams entering the Final Four, they're playing better than anyone else. Part of that could also be because their path has probably been the easiest. Do you agree that the Duke's playing better than anyone else right now?
Yeah, I think Duke is – I don't even think it's really necessarily close. I think that they have just – like, you look at the margins in these games. So, obviously, first round's an easy one. Then 23-point win against Baylor. They beat Arizona, which was just playing incredibly offensively. They still win by 7 points there, and they score 100. And then they crush Alabama by 20. I think it's been far and away Duke. The offense, the defense, it's so good. And I always think, like, when you have a player like Cooper Flagg, who is your best player on offense and on defense, like, those are so, so rare. He impacts the game in so many different ways. He's just terrific. And I think that the roster construction around him is so good. They have the shooters, they have the drivers, they have the ball handlers, they have the lob threats. Like, I really think when I watch them, I watch and I say, this is modern basketball at its best. You don't think of a clear weakness in their offensive attack because you can get beaten so many different ways. And then defensively, they're long, they're active, they switch, they force turnovers. It's just a really, really good team. And make no mistake, they are playing extremely well right now too.
They are, and they're fun. Just like you said, like there's so much talent, and it's not just like we've seen, Coach Cal at Arkansas, at his years during Kentucky, like you would watch them sometimes and be like, man, like this team's so talented, but the pieces didn't really fit together. Whereas with Duke, it's like they've got three guys that are probably going to go in the lottery, and they've got some older guys there as well, and everything just fits together so well. It's been so much fun to watch, and they're going to play Houston on Saturday. And how do you see that game going? Because I'm very intrigued by just the matchup of styles.
Yeah, no, I think of the two games, I think it's my favorite Final Four game, and it's really like these are going to be two excellent games. I think I lean Duke Houston a little bit more just because of what you said. It's such an intriguing battle of styles. Houston this year, just like so much better shooting the ball, which last year or, in past years, you would have looked at this matchup and said, well, Houston's just not going to be able to make enough shots. And that's usually how they have fallen out of the tournament. This year, like one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the entire country. They were first for a bit. They've fallen all the way to third. Gosh, what a disaster. They are just really outstanding. You know that they are so tough. And they also fit kind of this, the teams that have knocked out Duke before in the tournament are these older teams that win a bunch of offensive rebounds and are kind of tougher and more physical. I think the difference this year is that Duke has that physicality. They are not going to be beaten up down low, or, they're not going to mind all the physicality. So I really do think this is going to be a great game because on one hand, you have Houston's best shooting team, which is the thing that's done them in before, against Duke's most physically talented team and probably its toughest team, which is kind of the thing that has done them in before. So really intriguing matchup.
Joined by Zach Pereles of CBS Sports, looking ahead to Saturday, the Final Four. The thing that I'm so intrigued by is just I think Houston's going to look small playing against Duke. Like that is, I think, my favorite thing about Duke. Like everyone's like 6'5" and up, and you look at Houston, like they don't go taller than 6'8", yet they rebound so well. And I'm just kind of like what you were saying. I'm very intrigued to see how like the physicality of Houston, because that's how they rebound. Like they just kind of out physical people. So like how do you think that the physicality of Houston in terms of rebounding is going to match up with just the pure size and length of Duke?
Yeah, I do think that Houston's going to be okay on the boards. And I think that's kind of the common thread in Duke's losses or even some of their tighter wins is that they kind of struggle a little bit on the boards. Now, I think that they've gotten better. I think that their young big guys have gotten better as the season's gone on. So I'm not quite as worried about Houston's lack of size or Duke's lack of toughness, supposed lack of toughness maybe as I might have been. I do think when you mentioned the length and the size, I do think that Duke's size can bother Houston's guards. You look at Houston, they really play kind of a 3-guard lineup with Cryer, Uzan, and Sharp. And none of those guys are taller than 6'4". So I do think that that's maybe an area where you'll see like Cooper Flagg is basically a guard and he's 6'9". Continental is 6'7", basically a guard. Tyrese Proctor 6'6", Theon James 6'6". Like that's kind of maybe where I see the length being a little bit of an issue for Houston. They're just going to have to execute so well, and they're going to have to make tough shots, which give them credit. They did against Tennessee, and they have done all year long.
They really have. It's a shame that I haven't mentioned Auburn yet. I think they're playing better than anyone not named Duke right now. Where are you at with Auburn heading into their matchup against Florida?
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested to see what's John Ibroom's health like? Obviously, the comeback and finishing that game was really impressive, but I just am a little worried about that. And keep in mind that Florida has already beaten Auburn twice. I think that Auburn has a really great makeup in terms of the depth in the backcourt. I'm just worried about the offensive glass if Broom isn't 100%. When you look at the two previous meetings, Florida really owned the offensive glass there and got a ton of extra possessions. And when they have so many different guys, that is an issue for Auburn. So I do think Florida is it's probably just in a better spot. I just think that they have such great activity. They gain so many extra possessions. And, while you think of Auburn as this big physical team, they're not a great defensive rebounding team. So I do think that Auburn's in for a little bit of trouble there. But I certainly wouldn't be stunned if they won. I just think I'm leaning Florida. I do think Auburn has played well. It's just at the end of the day, like one of Auburn's biggest weaknesses is one of Florida's biggest strengths. And when you're looking at matchups and the tiny margins, if there's a big margin here or there, you get a little worried.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And we saw Florida beat the brakes off Auburn at Auburn earlier in the season. My thing with, I think why I like Auburn so much right now, Todd Pettiford's just been really good to start the tournament. He wasn't great against Michigan State, but against Creighton, I thought he was awesome. Like the dude can just really play. And, Janai Broom only had 8 points against Creighton, and Auburn was able to win that game by 12 because Todd Pettiford played so well. For me, he's the X factor in that game. Like if he comes off the bench and he gets 20, I really like Auburn. What are your thoughts on Pettiford, kind of how he's played so far throughout the tournament?
Yeah, I think Todd Pettiford's a guy where you just love his demeanor, his moxie, his sort of like, I don't care that I didn't start. I can be a closer. I will take and make big shots. I am 100% on board with you. Like calling him the X factor, I do think is completely fair. I think that he's a guy who, when he's good, he is really good just because he's so talented. He's so fearless. He's not afraid to, get right to the basket, even though he's not that big of a guy. And then he can shoot over you as well. He has played some excellent basketball. A big thing for him is going to be the turnovers and avoiding, some of the mental errors that can kind of rise up for him. Obviously, it was really not an issue against Michigan State. He had 3 turnovers against Michigan, 3 against Alabama State in the first round. But if you look in their losses, he's kind of had some times where there's been, or even their close wins, there's been some times where he gets sped up a little bit. And because he's so confident, maybe there's a mistake or two there. But overall, I love watching him play. I love the way that he plays, not only the skill, but the mindset. And I do think, like, for a young guard, he has handled March so well. So I'm really, really interested to see what he does there against Walter Clayton. And, Florida's defense has been good and really good all season long, but there have been some breakdowns that have kind of been a little bit less, that have kind of been a little out of the norm. So I'm wondering if Todd Pettiford can exploit those as well.
Joined by Zach Pereles of CBS Sports. He's a fantastic writer. He's got a newsletter, actually put one out today on the women's Final Four and Profar getting an 80-game suspension. Make sure you go find that newsletter and sign up for it. Last thing for you, Zach, and I will let you go. Who wins these games and who wins the whole thing?
I think I'm going Duke because of their size and their all-around game. I'm going Florida because I've seen them do it before, and I think that offensive rebounding is going to loom large. And then I went with Florida when I picked my bracket. I don't feel as good about it now. I think I've got to go Duke. It's going to really make me unhappy about my bracket, which has been really good so far. But Duke, just too well-rounded, too good too much of everything you look for. They're operating on all cylinders, and it's really a credit to this team and to John Shire, who has built a absolutely outstanding team in every single facet you could want.
He has. That team's just I'm with you, even though, man, I don't know. Auburn's been so good. But you're right. Like, we've seen Florida handle Auburn already this season. The offensive rebounding should be a big advantage for Florida. So I think I'm with you. Florida and Duke playing for the whole thing with Duke winning it all. Zach, thanks for your time, man. As always, you were great.
Thanks so much for having me. It was fun.
You got it. That is Zach Pereles. You can check him out on Twitter at Zach_Pereles. Once again, he's got that newsletter that he writes for CBSSports.com. It's good. You should go read it and check it out. When we come back, in about 4 minutes, torpedo bats. Yeah, I like them. They should stay. I'll tell you why when we come back here in about 3 minutes.
It may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Uh-oh. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching on Twitter, _ Jonathan Smith, if you want to follow me there. Maybe you're listening via that Indy Sports Ticket app. If you want to hear more of me, you can listen to me noon to 3. Chime me in from time to time on the Dan Dockett Show. You can also check out my other YouTube stuff. My take is that is the other YouTube channel. The New York Yankees have made everyone in baseball upset. They have. They've created these torpedo bats, and it's unfair. I think it's great. I think it's great for baseball. I don't think I've ever talked about baseball teams this early in the season. And so the publicity is a good thing, and the increase in home runs is a good thing. And I know there's some people out there who don't like the torpedo bats. Get over it. You're just upset that your team didn't think of this. Why would we punish the Yankees for being innovative and figuring out a way to improve their team? They figured out a way to make the bat better. Every other team in Major League Baseball could have taken the time, the money, the energy, the research that it took for the Yankees to do this, and they could have created this torpedo bat first, but they chose not to do that. And that is not the Yankees' fault. That's the other 29 teams in baseball's fault. Also, this is not an unfair advantage. You still have to square the baseball up. And every other team can do the same thing. Every other team can bring in these new torpedo bats. That is an option, believe it or not. In fact, Elly De La Cruz flew one in before his game yesterday, and he hit 2 home runs. Every team in Major League Baseball can participate in this. The reason why people don't like it is because the New York Yankees came up with it. Okay? The Yankees are the team that figured this out. Okay? And here's the thing. If the Tampa Bay Rays or the Oakland Athletics or any one of these small market teams figured this out, people would rave about it. Like it was just the most amazing thing ever. The Tampa Bay Rays have this reputation of just being just scrappy organization that's underfunded, yet they figure out a way to be competitive every single year. And if they had been the team that had created these torpedo bats, everyone would love it. Okay, you would hear these rants about how smart and how forward-thinking the Tampa Bay Rays are and how great this is for baseball. But because it was the New York Yankees, the most popular yet most hated team in baseball, or franchise in baseball, people don't like it. That's the reality of this. You don't like it because the Yankees came up with it. But if your team or the lowly Rays or Athletics had come up with it, you would be all for it, which is really annoying. Either way, no matter who came up with it, this should not be banned. These torpedo bats should stick around until the end of time or until they figure out another way to make baseball bats better. It makes the game more fun. Baseball should be fun. It should be enjoyable. It should be entertaining, something that it hasn't really been these past couple of years. And these new bats make the game more entertaining. That is what they do. What was the best era of baseball? The steroid era. Everyone was hitting the ball out of the yard, and the pitchers were slinging it. Roger Clemens makes the comeback, and it's just fun. That's what it is. That's what baseball was. And over these past couple of years, like that's kind of stopped because pitching has become so dominant in this era of baseball that we're in. It has been. And these vortex backs give us a little bit of like a slight taste of the steroid era. Like I don't think that we're going to have a home run race like we did between McGuire and Sosa. One of the most entertaining things that has ever happened in the history of baseball. Everyone was tuned in, watching, Cubs and Cardinals games late in the year, trying to see who was going to be the home run king that season. It was fun. It was entertaining. It was cool. That's not what baseball is right now. But they can get back to that. Every pitcher throwing 100 and dudes hitting bombs. Like that is fun. That is entertaining. And that's what we have right now. Every pitcher throws 100. Every pitcher has this 90-mile-an-hour slider that breaks, 18 inches whenever they throw it. It's tough to hit right now. Everyone thinks that the issue with hitting in baseball is, the approach at the plate. These guys are trying to hit home runs. No, that's not why batting average has gone down across baseball. The reason why batting average has gone down across baseball is because pitchers throw 100 miles an hour. They have disgusting breaking balls, and they're calling all these dudes up because there's a lot of them. Okay? These bats level the playing field just a little bit. And they should stick around because evolution happens in sports all the time. A new marathon record gets set every year because these shoe companies figure out ways to create these more springy shoes. Evolution happens in sports. When you look at the 100-meter dash, I don't think humans are faster than what they used to be. Humans now are just as fast as they were, 40 years ago. Well, Jonathan, why are the times better? Because the equipment that they're using is better. The shoes that they're running in now are better than what they used to be. And instead of the Olympics being no innovation allowed, they just let everyone wear them. And that's what should happen. In the sport, the 100-meter dash became even more fun to watch. 100 meters in 9.79 seconds. That's how fast Noah Lyles ran the 100-meter dash this year, which won them the gold medal, which is cool. 1980, the time that won the gold medal in the 100-meter dash was 10.35 seconds. It's cool. It's fast. It's faster than I am, but not under 10. It just sounds way cooler. It's more fun. It just is. People didn't become faster. The technology that they used got better. The tracks that they run on are better. The shoes that they wear are better, and it has improved the performance. And that is what these torpedo bats have done. The technology is better. The innovation is better, and it's going to help batters get more hits and hit more home runs. That is a good thing, too. Baseball has become so pitchers dominant, and pitchers are great. I like pitchers. Pitchers get me to a TV sometimes. But you know what really gets me to a TV? A text from my buddy saying, hey, man, Phillies are down 3. Bases are loaded. Bryce Harper's at the plate. I'm going to pause whatever NBA game or college basketball game or NFL game that I'm watching, because you can do that on TV now, which is awesome. And I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to watch that at-bat. Because I want to see Bryce Harper, one of the most notable players in all of baseball, in that high-pressure spot. And if I know in the back of my mind, he's got that vortex bat, the chances that, torpedo bat, excuse me. He's got that torpedo bat. The chances that he hits a home run go up a little bit. Can't wait. It makes the game more intriguing. The other thing here, the Yankees home run lead really isn't that great. They've hit 15. The Dodgers have hit 12. I know that the Dodgers have played in 2 more games, but still, come on now. The third place team is the Orioles with 10. Not really that big of a difference, right? It's not like they've hit, twice as many home runs as the teams that are right on their tail. Okay. It's really not that big of a gap. This, torpedo bat needs to stick around because it just makes the game more fun. It makes the game more entertaining. Baseball needs a little bit more fun, and it needs a little bit more entertainment. It does. And home runs do that. They do. The 2 sexiest things in baseball are home runs and strikeouts. That's just the reality of it. Watching a pitcher have a 20 strikeout game is awesome. That is some of the most fun you'll have watching baseball. And baseball has that because of how dominant pitchers have become. Let's let these batters hit a few more home runs. That way we get the peak entertainment of what baseball can be. Speaking of peak entertainment, I'll be back on the air tomorrow from 10 to noon. I'll also be, on with Dan Dockich today from noon to 3, as I always am. And if you want more from me, you can check out my other YouTube page. My Take Is. Head over there, subscribe, and check it out. I'll be back tomorrow, 10 to noon. The Dan Dockich Show comes your way here in 5 minutes.